Hey everybody, Greg here, and this is a short video about my video production process. Just some tips and insights that I pulled together over the years. And you'll notice that my recent videos I've been doing from on the bicycle, and part of the reason for that is it just saves time. You know, if I'm going from one place to another and have some time during that commute, there's not much more you can do while riding other than maybe listen to a book on audio or listen to music. So making videotapes while riding is handy. And the other thing is it provides, you know, an interesting backdrop, more so I think than just sitting in a studio somewhere. So anyway, I have 11 points I'm going to share, and the first one is with regard to lighting. Now right now it's early morning. Today's Sunday, August 13. And so I'm heading kind of into the rising sun in the distance. It's a cloudy day, which is nice. It gives me some diffused light. But that's one thing to consider, you know, on outdoor recording, which is kind of what I'd recommend. You just want to make sure that you get the sun positioned properly. I've had a couple of videos where I wasn't paying close attention. I was on a trail, and basically it was like my face against some trees and then the rest of it was sky, you know. So basically the camera light metering was adjusting to the sky. You just want to make sure you've got kind of the background is all equal lighting. And the second point is with regard to sound quality. And that's one of the challenges of recording outdoors, is sometimes you'll get a plane flying overhead, or you know, certainly if you're near a street, a busy street, you might get some noise from traffic and trucks and stuff. But if you're, you know, out on the bike and you're on a trail, it could be actually pretty nice, quiet, conducive to recording. I've noticed some people who are creators, producers, you know, a video on YouTube will use the lapel mics. I've thought about doing that, getting a wired mic to run to my phone. But I find as long as I project my voice pretty well, that, you know, the audio tends to be okay. So anyway, those are just some considerations. That's one thing is, you know, if you are recording in a studio, you get a little bit better control over lighting, and you get better control over the sound, you know. Now the third point is what I refer to as shared quality. So the quality of your video, once you've finished it and you've gotten it uploaded to YouTube or Vimeo or whatever, you know, how good is that video? So I had been producing a lot of videos, over 480 videos on YouTube, and I sort of stopped about a year ago because what I was finding is that for a variety of reasons, the quality of the video just wasn't that great once it was shared online. It was sort of blurry, fuzzy, whatever. And, you know, it would look great on my computer, but just not once it was uploaded. Now, part of that was because the camera I was using back then that was on my phone was giving me what's referred to as 720p resolution. So with that 720p resolution, you know, on a larger display, on a larger display, that would start to look fuzzy. There's nothing you can do about that, right? So you pretty much want to be recording in the highest resolution possible based on what's the biggest display somebody might be watching that on. So these days that would be, let's say, 1920 by 1080 at least, right? Because now people are going to 4K displays. So anyway, shared quality, you want that to be good. And certainly, no matter what you do, let's say you record in 4K video and you upload it to Vimeo or YouTube, and it's like some 20 gigabyte, you know, file or whatever. There's always the issue of what about the person's, you know, connection quality, and you can't really control that. The services for hosting video do their best to, you know, provide you with good streaming capabilities so that people viewing that are going to see it as best they can, you know, from their device, given their bandwidth and all that. But that's another issue as well. So anyway, a lot's changed over the past year in terms of video production and video streaming, and so that's part of what this video is about, is just to talk about some of those changes and how I'm, you know, getting back into video production because of that. So anyway, the fourth point is with regard to comments. You know, comments are good. You want people to follow your videos, you want them to be engaged and find the content interesting, so you're going to get comments. Well, there's also the problem of trolls, right? People that are just out there to cause trouble. You know, they just kind of wander around the internet posting and hoping to rile somebody up. I've fortunately not run into that too much, but let's just say you don't have to deal with any trolls. All you have are just genuine, interested people. It takes time, you know, to respond in a thoughtful, prompt, meaningful way, you know, to those comments. So anyway, that's something to consider, you know, that and to the extent possible, you want your videos to be comprehensive, easy to understand, well organized, and complete, so that you don't end up having to answer a lot of questions that you could have just kind of had answered already in the video. Just kind of a point about that is I'd launched a website a while back, and it's had millions of views, and I occasionally get somebody to contact me through there, but basically it's just like millions of people going there, getting what they need, and that's it, you know, and that's okay. Because, you know, ideally, I guess, for an information website, that's what you'd want. You don't want people getting there and then getting confused and saying, oh, this link was broken, or, oh, you know, this information was incorrect. So in a way, I see that as a success, you know, that there have been these millions of viewers, 99.9% of them got what they needed and didn't find any problems. So anyway, there's a whole world out there as far as like social media, how to connect with people, and how to deal with those comments. And then that was point number 4. So point number 5 is production. So there's a lot you can do to polish your video, to make it look nice with video editing software. And one thing I like doing is, if I have a video that's sort of instructional, or where maybe some illustration might be helpful, I'll go into Final Cut Pro, you know, nicer video editing software, and I'll drop in images, charts, etc. And even at a minimum, you know, you can have like nice background music, maybe a nice intro slide, and you can kind of make it look really professional, you know. So that's one approach, and that is almost necessary for some video content. But for the most part, what I try to do is let my content, as I mentioned earlier, be kind of complete, comprehensive, and I'm not trying to get or attract or retain viewers based on the gee whiz factor, you know, based on the high production value of the video. Because what I'm interested in is delivering content that people find useful, and they don't really care whether or not I'm sitting in a nice studio, you know. So I'm sure I do probably lose some potential views because of that, but in general it really saves a lot of time, and it also kind of keeps you on your toes as far as your content creation, because you know that you can't, or that you're not going to you know, get out there and try to improve it using some post-production tricks or whatever. So the 6th point is with regard to popularity, and I'm going to let that plane go by. That was a helicopter. So anyway, with regard to popularity, sometimes it's hard to know how popular a video will be. I have, there's a video I put out there just kind of random about my washer dryer, and it's had over 100,000 views. And to give you, by comparison, most of my videos get like 12 views. Okay, so, and another one, an audio recorder, I just kind of sat down and walked through some of the menus on it, and that's had over 113,000 views. A printer, I was doing a video of this printer and the little menu on the front panel, walking through that menu, and that's had, over 40,000 views. So those are some of the outliers, some of the kind of rare examples of what doesn't normally happen. But if you're trying to produce content that gets a lot of views in order to generate ad revenue, then that becomes relevant to you. And kind of tying in popularity with production quality, it's sort of a toss-up. Sometimes I'll spend a lot of time really producing a video, and I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be popular, and it isn't. And other times I just throw something together and put it up there on some random topic. I remember once I got a bicycle. It's just like a low-end bicycle. I did a quick video, and then that had like 50,000 views. So anyway, you just, as far as I know, you can't really guarantee you're going to get a lot of views or that something's going to go viral. So anyway, that's popularity. And then moving on to item number 7, which is storage space. So one of the challenges of producing a lot of video, especially if you're going to be doing some editing, is the storage requirements for video content. You really need, quite a few terabytes of storage if you're really going to be doing a lot of high quality video, especially if you're doing work in Final Cut Pro, and if you're going to be doing multi-angle shots, high definition, you're talking like really hundreds of gigabytes, and depending on the length of the video. So so anyway, that's a consideration, and that could be a hurdle for some people, because you've got to go out and buy those hard drives, and you don't just want one hard drive, because what if it crashes? So you basically need, for every hard drive you think you're going to buy, you need to actually buy 2 hard drives, and you need to plan some time to do your backups. It starts to become a real project. So anyway, that's something to consider. And then item number 8 is scripted versus non-scripted. Now this is, I normally don't read from notes, but I have like 11 items I wanted to cover, so I was just going to reference my little handwritten list here. But some people, I think, feel a lot more comfortable having pretty detailed notes that they're reading from. And this is true for people who are doing public speaking, or making videos or whatever. And for other people, they're okay just talking off the cuff, doing improv, or whatever comes to mind. So anyway, interestingly to me is to see that a lot of those videos on YouTube that are getting lots of views, those videos are these people that are just kind of free flow of thought, talking random stuff, and they get like millions of views. So I don't get that. I would think most people would want like a specific topic to the video, and they'd want it to kind of stay on track. But in fact, I would say, jumping back to popularity for just a minute, and speaking of jumping around, but if you produce a video about a specific thing, like if you have a Jeep Grand Cherokee special edition, whatever, like this one here, if you produce a video on that, a review, or like I did with the audio recorder or the clothes washer dryer, there are people that are searching Google for that item, and you're talking about an audience of like billions of people, so somebody somewhere is interested in whatever you're gonna post about. That's what I've found out. And the more specific a video can be, the more likely it is somebody searching on that. They're not going to search on just fuzzy general terms, but more specific hard products and items and questions. So anyway, but getting back to script versus freestyle then is, if you can sort of have a plan and a bit of a script or outline, maybe even just in your head, before you start recording, then that can help, you know. And then item number 9 is just kind of a practical thing, and that is with regard to battery life. Now this has gotten better. I'm using the iPhone 7 Plus, and so it has some pretty good battery life. But in the past, I would, you know, do a video, and pretty soon my battery was like worn down for the day. So you may want to carry around one of those extra battery pack charging devices. Those are real handy. They're a little bit bulky and heavy, so you probably, unless you like taped it to your phone or something, you may not want to be using it while recording. There are some cases you can get that have a battery in them, and that works well. I've done that before. So anyway, just something to be mindful of, that if you're going to be doing video, it makes sense to use your phone, right? Because you have it with you, but you're going to be using a lot more battery life. And then item number 10, we're getting toward the end here. Item number 10 is that you want to use the back-facing camera on your phone, which initially is going to be a little bit, it's going to take some getting used to, because you're probably accustomed to like recording a picture, right? A selfie, or, you know, a selfie video, where you can kind of see how you're framed in. You sort of see that you're framed in okay on the camera, and it's just reassuring to see that, you know. Just like a viewfinder, a digital display on a camera, you want to see what you're taking a picture of, you know. So the problem is that those front-facing cameras are typically not very good quality. And so, you know, the resolution on those is going to be poor. And that's where, like I was talking about last year, the videos I was making, a lot of those I was using that front-facing camera, and I thought, well, I guess, you know, it gives me a smaller file size and less file to upload, etc. Uses less hard drive space. But the lens just is not as good. It's really more for just chatting, snapping little pictures, but it's not designed to create, you know, higher quality video. So what you have to do is flip that camera, flip the phone around, use the back facing camera. And, you know, if you have a case on your phone, like I have actually just a plastic case on there, but it creates a little bit of a reflection, so I can kind of see that I'm framed in there, and just look directly at the lens. I mean, that's the other thing, is if you're using any kind of camera, phone or whatever, and you're looking at the viewfinder, that's going to be apparent to those who are watching the video. They're going to see, like, he's not quite looking at the camera, he's looking at something else. So people, I think, I know I do, I like it when, you know, somebody's talking to you, at you, with you, that they're looking at you, you know, and not looking kind of like off to the side. Now I kind of have to do that when I'm riding the bike, so I don't run into stuff. But anyway, so back-facing camera, and that's made a huge difference for me. Using that back-facing camera, I really feel like I'm getting high-quality video from the point of recording all the way through to the shared end result. It ends up being pretty good quality. Central to that is getting back to item number 1 on the list, and this list is in no particular order, but lighting. Right now I've got that morning sunlight, as I told you, a little bit diffused by some clouds. It's really good lighting. But if the light were not this bright, the quality would still be okay, but not as good as having just a really bright sunny day, and you're outside and you're using that back-facing full high definition 1920 by 1080 camera. That's going to give you your best result. And from there, or anything upward, you know, you don't want to have any less quality than that. I mean, if I could, who knows, maybe the new phones coming out are going to give pretty good quality, like 4K recording or whatever. But so that was back-facing camera. And then item 11, the last item, is phone disruption. So yeah, I'm recording using my phone, and one of the challenges is, even if I have this thing in snooze mode or whatever, do not disturb, it still allows phone calls to come through when you're recording video, which is a little bit of a shortcoming, because, you know, what if you're recording that big event and suddenly somebody calls and says, "Hey, are you recording the big event?" And you're like, yeah, I was, until you called, and then it stopped recording. So anyway, now fortunately I don't get a lot of phone calls. Most of it's text and email these days, but it's something to be mindful of. So, you know, there are certainly folks out there using GoPro cameras to do their video. Those produce really good quality. Maybe even just an old iPhone, you know, if it gives you a good enough video quality, you could do your video with that. But it's something to be aware of. So maybe there's some feature I don't know about, or if there isn't, maybe in the future there will be some feature that will let people be recording and really just cancel all other phone functions. But I don't know of that yet. And jumping back to sound quality for just a bit, when I'm on the bike, I try to ride slow, because otherwise there would be a lot of wind noise. And whenever I can, if I'm going to be doing a video, I pick a day when it's nice and sunny and when it's not very windy, because otherwise that really does, you can barely hear somebody talking if there's too much wind. I've tried recording with my AirPods, and it's not really clear whether that's better or not. In fact, you know, just from the recording, I can't quite tell, even though I'm using the AirPods, I can't quite tell if it's the microphone on the AirPods that's actually doing the recording, or if it's still just using the microphone in the camera for the video audio. But anyway, that's basically it. And just to recap those points, let me get my little list out here. But it was, you know, 11 points: lighting, sound quality, shared quality, addressing comments people have, how much time or effort you're going to put into production, you know, in video editing on the computer, whether or not you care about popularity, trying to map out, okay, what's been working, what's not been working. Generally, I would say, to cut that short, is just to say, hey, you know, focus on a particular topic and you'll probably get some good results. Item 7, storage space. Item 8 is scripted versus just freestyling it. Item 9 is thinking about battery life. And item 10, use that back-facing camera for better quality. And then item 11 is, be aware that if somebody calls, your phone will take that phone call and your video recording will be stopped. By the way, you'll get all the recording up to the phone call, and so if you want to piece, you know, 2 segments together and make one video out of it later, you can do that using, you know, your video editing software. But I really prefer to do videos in one take all the way through without disruption. That's also key, because then you can basically just transfer that video directly to YouTube. Before I close, one final point. The video quality, if you're uploading videos using your cellular connection, your data cellular plan, it's the best you'll get is like 720p. So you have to wait until you are someplace with really good Wi-Fi. And because you're going to be uploading, and because it's going to be high definition, because maybe, like me, I talk a lot, so you know, it's going to be a long video, you need a lot of bandwidth going up. Most people have, you know, 20, 50, 100 megabit down, but you want a lot of bandwidth going up to get that video uploaded to YouTube. But anyway, if you've done that video in one take and you don't have to do any editing in the studio, great. You can just record, push stop, and upload it directly. And yeah, it's not going to look super polished, but at least it gets the message out there. So anyway, I hope these tips have been helpful, and look forward to hearing from you, any comments, suggestions, feedback, and have a great day.